Well, good morning. Welcome to the Alpine Church of Spiritual Living. On this May 22nd, 2022, I'm going to be reading the thought for the week, and you can join me down at the bottom where it's in bold. This week's topic is Let Go and Live. As we are moving through the theme this month of change gracefully or not. When I say let go, I am referring to letting go of tension, of anticipation that something is wrong, or at least not right. It's a vague feeling that plays in the background of life. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it is definitely there. I currently have my computer being worked on by an expert. It had been running slow, and finally the message came up saying the application office was unable to start correctly. The lovely woman I called on the phone is being very helpful. She's still working on it as I'm typing this from my old computer. It's a process that I just had to let go and wait to see what happens. How many times do we ignore small signals of life telling us we need to address something until it snowballs out of control? We in New Thought call this a 2x4 wake-up call. I say an Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer each morning while I do my stretching. One of the lines is, "Don't let surface things delude us, but free us from what holds us back." I love to contemplate that message. I wonder how deluded I am by the surface things of life. I yearn to be free from the hidden messages and tapes that run silently within me, much like my computer gets held back by the ineffective programming with which it has been dealing. So it's a good thing to routinely clean up our thinking, to be aware of the tendencies of our expectations and release the negative ones that hold us back. In this way, we are set free to truly live in the here and now. Life is about change. We can do it with ease and grace or kicking and screaming. There is a quiet level of accepting what is and going with the flow that brings peace. Say with me, I live in this present moment, setting myself free from worn-out thoughts and feelings that hold me back. I am free at each moment to live life to its fullest, and I am grateful. Well, it has been an interesting week for me, especially with my involvement with technology. As I wrote in the thought for the week that I was having problems with my computer, and I still am. I thought that it was fixed, and when I went to type up the notes for my message this morning, Word was extremely slow, and so once again I went back to my old computer, and then my mouse died. I changed the battery, it didn't matter, it still wasn't happy. So, needless to say, I need this lesson today on letting go and live. It does make me grateful, though, that I do have a backup, an old computer that I can still remember how to use. How many of you in this room, or listening and watching on this YouTube channel, how many of you have been challenged or taxed in some form or manner in this coming week? Any time. Yesterday, today, previously. It's amazing, isn't it? We don't get out of life without being challenged. You hear me talk about Adeline all the time. A little Adeline is here today with us at the service. And Adeline, I think she's trying to tell Grandpa Med that she wants to talk to you. So you may want to go over sit next to her. So if you are having an issue with, we're going to bring her up here?
Yeah, so she gets on.
Oh, she gets on. Okay, everybody can see her.
With Grandma.
Okay, look over here. There's Adeline. See there? See your picture? Okay, thank you.
Now, what did you want to tell me?
So if you are having an issue, whether it's with technology or whatever the challenge and the angst is that is in your life at this moment, I ask you to remember to just breathe. just take a nice deep breath and breathe. We've been working with our meditation class, our mindfulness class, and that's one of the first things that we have learned is just to settle ourselves into the recognition, the realization that I am right here now breathing in and I am right now breathing out. When you take that conscious breath, it pulls you away from whatever the angst is, whatever the question, whatever the worry is, and you can let it go, literally letting it go with your breath. And when you do that, your mind and your attention are not on the problem, whatever it is, because you're living in the moment, in the now. And as I was thinking about that, and what you're doing is you're turning away from the issue and you're turning your attention to God, to love, to wholeness, to truth, to peace. And I was reminded of Emmett Fox's little pamphlet that he wrote called The Golden Key. He wrote it in 1931. He was a divine scientist, divine science minister. How many of you have ever heard of Emmett Fox or have read his Golden Key? Many of you. It's an oldie, obviously, from 1931. And I wanted to read the foreword of what he said in it. He said, "I have compressed this booklet into 6 pages. Had it been possible, I would have reduced it to 6 lines. It is not intended to be an instructional treatise, but a practical recipe for getting out of trouble. Study and research are well in their own time and place, but no amount of either will get you out of a concrete difficulty. Nothing but practical work in your own consciousness will do that. Nothing but practical work in your own consciousness will get you out of a concrete difficulty. The mistake made by many people when things go wrong is to skim through a book after book without getting anywhere. Read the Golden Key several times, do exactly what it says, and if you are persistent enough, you will overcome any difficulty. The whole thing in a nutshell is stop thinking about the difficulty and think about God instead." And he says, don't try to picture God, because you can't. There is no way that we absolutely can have some sort of a mental image of what God is, because God is infinite, right? But God is wisdom. God is amazing, unconditional love. God is always giving. We don't need to understand these things because it's really beyond our finite understanding. But if we just think on these things, think on unconditional love, think on peace, think on joy, what are we doing? We are not thinking about the problem. It's a matter of turning it around. He also said that if you're having a problem with a person, maybe that's an issue, a relationship problem. He said you can golden key Mary or John. And what that does is it gives you permission to see that person as God in expression. Whether they are or not in your mental evaluation of them, you can know the inner truth of that divine self that they are. Maybe it's hiding quite a bit from your eyes, but when you go within and you turnkey or you golden key that person, you may not be aware of it, but you are having an effect on them. There is one mind, there is one source, one energy, and as we tap into knowing the truth for that person, that will make an effect on them. That will help them be guided and hopefully be revealing within themselves what their really truth is. He said, by working in this way about a person, you are not seeking to influence their conduct in any way, except that you prevent him from injuring or annoying you, and you can you then have nothing but, you do nothing but good for him. Therefore, he is certain to be in some degree a better, wise, and more spiritual person because you have golden keyed him. So if there's something that is an issue with a person, you can golden key them. You can know the truth for them. We can recognize that there is one power, one presence. It is God. And he gives a little examples of just short little affirmations that you can say. There is no power but God. There's no power but love. That I am a child of God. And he says maybe the simplest one is God is with me. It sounds simple, doesn't it? God is with me. Is it easy to do? Not necessarily. It sounds easy, but when you're faced with, an issue of one consternation after another, I, thinking that I'm going to type my talk and be happy-go-lucky doing this, and then one thing after another happens, and you just literally have to take a breath and know that God is here, and God is the one that is leading me, that is guiding me. By the way, the thought that I wrote, that I just read here this morning, is not the one that was in the paper. Because when I was typing it on my old computer, there was no way to access the internet, to send it to the editor of the newspaper in time. So I took a picture of it with my phone, and I sent it to them on an email, knowing that they would have to retype it, because there was no way they could just grab it, from the internet and do it. And so they published one of my archives that they had. I got the newspaper yesterday, and it was not the one I just read you. So you know what? I guess that was the one that was supposed to be in the newspaper. And it was about giving. I didn't even read the whole thing. But the thing of it is to allow ourselves to go with the flow of life when changes are happening, and not to rebuke them, and not to initially say that this is wrong. And as I wrote in the thought for the week, that I do love when I do my stretching, saying that Lord's Prayer, the Aramaic version of it. And don't let surface things dilute us. It's all about our Lord's Prayer, so it's always us, not me, because we are one. Don't let surface things dilute us, but free us from what holds us back. And that's what we're talking about, is letting go of all of the angst, the worn out tapes, the things that we've told ourselves subconsciously, primarily. We aren't even aware of it consciously. And to let that go so that we can be free to live from our deeper level. Because I was thinking of the golden key. By the way, I opened up this little box that I have, and I have all sorts of little tiny pamphlets in there. There's the golden key one. And then I found this one as well. This is another one from Emmett Fox, the 7-Day Mental Diet. Now, do you remember that one? That one absolutely was the precursor to Will Bowen's book that he wrote about doubting. What was it again? Complaint-Free World. The Complaint-Free World literally is the same exact information that Emmett Fox wrote in 1935. Emmett Fox says if you have a problem, you think about God, and you do it for 1 week. Now, Bowen says you have to do it for 21 days. And if you have a negative thought come up, the information is the same literally in both of them, but Bowen just kind of modernized it, honestly, and said to do it for 21 days versus 7. Because if you have a little hiccup in it and you fall off and get onto a negative thought, a negative feeling, then you have to start all over again. But the thing of it is that you can have a negative thought. That's going to come up. But just don't entertain it. is what he was saying. You can have it come up, but then don't beat yourself up over it. Let it go. Just let it go and move on. And so I was thinking that wouldn't it be wonderful if we could work with both of these things, golden key it, and then the mental diet of letting go whatever negative thought is and just let it be. That is what letting go and living is all about. But what it takes is to know that within us, literally, that we are living this life of the infinite. We are living the life of God. And it is what is living us. And so when we release and let go of all the consternation and the negativity, then we allow this beautiful, loving light of the divine to shine out from us, through us, onto others. And those are the what we see. I love Scott Calixtein's or Scott Grace's song. Yes, I see with the eyes of God. Yes, I love with the heart of God. Yes, I breathe with the breath of God. Yes, I live in the love of God. Yes, I see with the eyes of God. Yes, I love with the heart of God. Yes, I breathe with the breath of God. Yes, I live in the love of God. Actually, I changed it a little bit because I say yes, and he said let. Let me, but I say yes. Because that is the truth, that we are living in it if we can just remember to feel the love, feel the joy, go with it, let it lead us into unknown territories. We are going to be able to jump into the deep end and not drown. We are going to be able to remember that we have this thing within us called flip on your back and float. Let life carry you through all of these angst that seem to come up for us. Life is for you at every single moment. Take a deep breath and feel that internally, that no matter what is going on, I can know and trust and believe that this too is for me. And I am not going to entertain any sort of negativity about it at all, but I am going to think and actualize and participate in knowing that love is propelling me forth in my life. And that is what I am going to see everyone else doing in their lives as well, in their own particular way. That's the thing of it, is that this life is unity, it is wholeness, but we are all individual twines and threads of this divine woven tapestry. And so don't expect anybody else to do it like you. And don't expect you to do it like anybody else. We are all perfect in our own unique way. So feel that energy and feel that confidence that this love and this joy and this peace is living through me today and always. When I remember to just be satisfied and be happy and be loving in it. Put your attention on the love and let everything else go in life. Namaste.
Namaste.